Can we take a simple vegetable like a cauliflower and make it spooky and delightful, both at the same time? Let's try it out. Welcome back to What I Tasted, where I make your favorite comfort foods, but better. And today, I have the ultimate video to enjoy our 31 days of Halloween, where I'm going to be making not one, but two brain roast cauliflowers. So when it comes to making some cauliflower roast, the recipes are actually pretty simple, a little time consuming in the cooking process, but that's okay because it's pretty low demand. I'm going to be making two different versions of these brain roasts. I'm going to be making a lemon tahini brain roast, and I'm going to be making another one that's going to really emphasize those Middle Eastern spices and flavors. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Okay, so to start with the first cauliflower roast, I'm going to take some tomatoes and onion. I'm going to prep them up. I'm going to get them cooking on the stove top. I'm going to add some more spices with it, mix it all up, and then that's going to go right on top of the cauliflower, and it's going to go in the oven. It's that simple. So I'm just going to take the tomato, just going to cut it, pretty much quarter it like so. The tomato is going to break down with the heat, so I don't need to do too much work here. Now, to keep this nice and simple, I have my cast iron heating up on the stove top, and the idea is that this can get nice and hot. I'm going to add the onion and the tomato right in here, and once that kind of breaks down a bit and the onions caramelize a little, then I'm going to add in the other seasoning, mix it up, and then remove as much as I can from that because it's going to brush on top of the cauliflower. I'm going to put in the onion, add in the tomato, you can see that the tomato has already broken down, like I was telling you earlier when we were prepping that. So, all right, so we have some garlic powder, we got some ginger powder, we got some cumin, some garam masala seasoning, we got some turmeric, some curry powder, and finally the last ingredient is some chili powder. Alright, so I'm just putting the lid on top of the cast iron there. What I'm trying to do is just let the spices really kind of immerse together and really bring out the flavors of each individual spice to come together really nicely. So that's just going to simmer for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and prepare the cauliflower, get that all brushed on there, and then cook it and roast it in the oven. I'm just going to cut off these leaves to reveal the stem. Now I just find using the knife just helps keep this process a little bit neater, and then really just cutting around to remove some of the stem. You don't want to remove all of it because you need something to hold the cauliflower intact. Back over here at the stove top, you can see got this great mix. It's looking awesome. I'm going to put it in a bowl. Okay, I'm going to put down just a little bit of oil in the bottom here and add the cauliflower. Pretty much kind of like so. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a little bit of this mixture here on the bottom. I just want to make sure that as it cooks, it's able to get all of the flavor, you know, really up and inside the cauliflower. Now, you can use a brush if you want. I don't really feel it's necessary given the kind of ingredients that I'm using here. They're going to already be pretty sticky, but I'm balancing this aspect of kind of plopping it on the top and letting it fall down itself, but also just kind of working it around a little bit. So now at this point, the cauliflower's got to roast for a while. It's got to roast 350 degrees, 30 minutes. Making this garlic butter rice is pretty simple. And I'm going to add some garlic powder. And then I have a cup of rice. Okay, and down to a simmer it goes. I'll cover it up and let this cook for a little bit. Smells fantastic. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this cauliflower over. Alright, that's going to go back in the oven for about 30 more minutes. At this time I have the first brain roast just about done. You know, it's cooking in the oven, but as soon as that comes out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it right side up with the stem of the cauliflower facing down. I'm going to put some of that, I'm going to put it right over the rice. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. You know, it's kind of like having some delicious Middle Eastern roasted cauliflower. So while that is finishing cooking, I'm going to go ahead and start preparing for the second cauliflower. Now with that cauliflower, I'm also going to make a tahini sauce. That tahini sauce, when it's done cooking, is going to go over the top of that roast, and it's going to be served with some tomato, some basil, some plant-based mozzarella. So I'm going to start with some oil, and then we have some garlic, some onion, some paprika, cumin, a little bit of turmeric, some chili powder, some salt, and I'll crack on some pepper. Whisk this up. We do want this to be a bit more like a paste. Alright, so I'm going to take the cauliflower, add it here to this pan, and I'm going to go ahead and pour the paste over the top of the cauliflower. And I want to cover as much of this cauliflower as possible. Alright, so first up, we have some lemon. Okay, so now when it comes to the lemon, what I did was I squeezed it out in order to loosen up the juice. And then I'm just squeezing as much lemon juice as possible. Got the lemon taken care of. I'm going to go ahead and pinch in some salt. Crack in some pepper. Add some garlic powder. I'm going to sweeten it down with some maple syrup. And then I'm going to add in some tahini paste. And then we're going to mix this all up. That looks fantastic. Now, when it comes to this tahini paste, because I'm going to let it sit a little bit, it may thicken. If it does thicken a little bit, I'll just take a little bit of water and just add that to thin it up a little bit. Okay, so let's take a look at the cauliflower. Okay, so now as I mentioned before, I'm going to be adding the cauliflower right on top of the rice. Flipping it right over. We're going to take our mixture, scoop that right on top. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get in the next cauliflower roast. Right in the oven here, 30 minutes, 350 degrees. Alright, so the first brain roast is done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and prepare some other elements that are going to be used to really kind of liven up this other cauliflower roast. When I say liven up, realistically, we're making it look a little bit more dead. So similar like I made in my meatballs for my pasta dish, I have some plant-based mozzarella. I'm going to utilize that with some olive, and I'm just going to make it kind of look like some eyeballs. I'm also going to prepare up some tomato, add that with it, and I'm going to bring that together, put it over some fresh basil. It's going to taste awesome, it's going to look awesome, it's going to be awesome. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the plant-based mozzarella and take an olive. I'm just going to push it together. I don't mind if it gets all mushy and stuff like that. I'm actually going to take and add this to the oven and let the cheese melt up a little bit, make those eyeballs look a little bit more gooey, so we have some brain and some eyeball, and the tomatoes are going to look like other bits and pieces, and it's going to be great. Alright, it's time to take the last brain roast out of the oven, and we're going to make a few additions to it, add it to the oven, and start wrapping this up. Looks great, sounds great, it's all sizzling. We're gonna add that right to this pan. And now we're just gonna go through and add our little decor. Alright, we basically have our bed of basil. Let's add the eyeballs on here. Alright, and this is going to go in the oven just for a few minutes. Alright, and there we go. There's our other brain roast. And now for a few final touches, put a little balsamic, cover up the fact that we got the eyeballs here, make this a nice delicacy. I'm gonna add the tahini glaze over the top. All right, there it is. I have 2 brain roasts completed. They look like they're gonna be delicious. And they look like they would be incredible plated up for your friends and family to enjoy as this nice twist to Halloween and some delicious food that is spooky good. So I'm gonna try out each one of these, let you know what I think. Delicious. The garlic butter rice is smooth, soft, has a garlicky, it's creamy with the butter. The brain roast, the cauliflower is so tender. It literally melts in your mouth, and it's loaded with those curry flavors and the spices. It's absolutely fantastic. You know, I could eat this all myself. A little bit crunchier, which is great, spot on. But the lemon comes through in that tahini sauce perfectly. The cauliflower has a great roast, great flavor, you know, and it's just fun to have this gooey eyeball with it, some basil. So much fun and so delicious. There you are, another 31 days of Halloween. This video is wrapped up. I got some more great ones coming your way because I'm your friend with food benefits, and I'll see you again real soon.